I've seen two camps with this episode. It's one of the best episodes ever, and every single second of it is really cool. Or it's a bad fanfiction put to animation.
In the end, there were just too many questionable moments that took me out of the episode and not enough good moments to draw me back in.
Think about the repercussions this has on the world building.
I just don't get why Daring Do had to be real.
So yeah, Daring Don't. Another fun episode, I have to say.
Wow, it feels weird to be the one with a more positive attitude for a change. Am I getting soft? Hello out there, this is the AnY and welcome to my analytical top 5 yay and nay list for Daring Don't. As you can see for yourself in my first impressions video, after I watched this episode for the first time, I had the feeling it was just another typical good MLP episode, including some really interesting ideas, many good laughs, and the usual flaws and inconsistencies. I actually considered it one of Polsky's better ones. Then it started. Comments on my videos expressing literally hate for the episode. Hearing statements like worst episode of the entire series. I am used to see Tommy more critical and serious about an episode, but even Digi, who admits to primarily focus on the positive, struggles to like the episode. Well, guess it is time to see if my own positive attitude prevailed throughout all the criticism and a second watch through. Number 5. Neigh! The Shady merchant disguise. It is only a rather short scene, it is a nitpick, and it is somehow related to aspects I'm going to talk about later. But it was just so stupid. Fooling your enemies with such a crappy disguise is what you expect from an episode of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the crappy one, not Sonic ZAM. Despite all its flaws and ridiculous moments, Daring Don't is played more or less straight. But that scene? It becomes even more painful when you consider that Daring showed an actual disguise previously in the very same episode, and that the villains had been able to see through it. What the buck? Number 5. Yay! The implementation of the journal. This is once again an aspect that has the potential to sneak into my list every week, and I usually exclude such for that reason. However, since this is the first time, I don't count the one in Castlemania, I wanted to address it nevertheless. Judging by only this one first entry, I say the journal is another improvement on the delivery of the friendship lesson. Lesson 0 already made the system more flexible by allowing other characters in Twilight to write the letters, so we don't need Twi to stumble into the episode in the last minute just for the letter, as for example in the Stairmaster. Then again, it still felt unnatural at times, like at the end of the otherwise great Sisterhood Social. And the idea that a bunch of young adult ponies write letters about rather mundane life lessons to the godlike ruler of them all felt like quite a bit of a stretch. Writing those experiences down in a diary or a journal for that matter finally feels authentic. Number 4. Neigh! Magical jump cut healing. Yes, another one that can be dismissed as nitpick, but it was just so pointless. They put a massive emphasis on showing how bad Daring has gotten hurt. She flinches multiple times and even has to stabilize her leg. Next time we see her, she is completely healed, beats up even stronger enemies than in her first fight, and I doubt the whole trick with escaping through raw strength would have been possible if the injury would still have been there. Polsky did something similar back in Feeling Pinky Keen, but the very important difference here is, back then, he did it in the context of over-the-top cartoony slapstick action. Here, it is an injury from a serious fighting sequence. Number 4. Yay! Pointing out the well-written characters becomes kind of a recurring theme in that list. Nevertheless, here we go. Rainbow Dash, Twilight and especially Fluttershy were extremely well written. I agree that their bigger decisions that had to be made for the sake of the plot didn't really feel spot on, but within the dialogues and the interaction between those three and the surroundings felt true. As Belissa Queen pointed out to me, Polsky really seems to have timid but assertive Fluttershy down. As much as I love Larson's episodes, I can't stand his whimpering basket case version of her. On a side note, Pinky has also been very subtle compared to her usual over-the-top Polsky version. Number 3. The writing itself. Probably one of the main issues that threw so many people for a loop. All the raised questions, contrived elements and aspects that do not really end up. Why does Daring work in secret but writes about it? How do the deadlines work? Why does the temple implode? How can Aristotle manipulate the sun despite Celestia? To be honest, Polsky has a track record of writing flawed episodes. Not necessarily bad or weak ones, but every single episode he was involved with writing had some major plot issues. This time it was more a bunch of minor head scratches that led the story resembling a block of Swiss cheese. Not mentioning that there are the usual amount of absolutely ludicrous moments for either plot convenience, a pop culture reference, or a quick joke. Well, Polsky may not write the most logical and cohesive stories, but he has other qualities. He reached his new height of humor, and his tendency to write unconventional plots allowed for number 3.
Yay!
The idea itself. I know that this and all the implications for world building are another really big game-breaking issue for most people, and I'm getting to that in a minute. But I think the idea itself of Daring Do being a real pony is very intriguing. Nevertheless, it also carries its very own issues besides the writing. Number 2. The way the idea has been implemented was everything but perfect. Polsky takes a very literal approach. The books are not only based on a real pony, but seem to feature her actual adventures in an autobiographical way. I would say the episode would have less negative critique if the real and the fictional Daring Do would have been more distinct. As I said, I love the idea that there is an actual Daring Do running around Equestria, but considering her original introduction in Read It and Reap as an adventure book heroine, which was obviously not trying to suspend our disbeliefs at all, but instead taking the parody approach, this tells us that the Ponyfight Indiana Jones spoof and all her over-the-top adventures are real? The implications of this approach are pretty much what broke this episode for Tommy. This mess could have easily been avoided with a more subtle approach. There is a real Daring Do the books are based on. As far as I care, she could even be the author herself as well. But the books are a fantastic exaggeration of the actual events. Take Aristotle for example. He is a laughable, absurd-looking monstrosity. His design is so bad it becomes good. Perfect for the fiction within a fiction parody. And now he is real? Well, I guess the subtle approach was out of the question the very moment Polsky got assigned to this episode. Nevertheless, I myself am able to enjoy the episode, despite the problems arising out of the fact that Daring's adventures are apparently real. By the way, the mysterious Mr. Enter was able to make some sense of some of the issues in his analysis video. Well, to be fair, many of the rather ridiculous moments in this particular episode can be excused to a certain level. Number 2.
Yay!
So many Indiana Jones references. We already got a few in Read It and Reap, but back then it was only the funny side story within the episode about Rainbow discovering the wonders of reading. Now we get the full-blown homage episode, including the revealing shot, a whip, super powerful mystical artifacts, the obsession with the head, Dr. Caballera as the typical anti-Indiana, the ancient civilization of doom worshippers, a lot of cool action, and of course the sidekick / love interest. Yeah, sorry, couldn't resist that one. As it has been the case with Castlemania, another episode built on a nostalgia-inspired theme, Daring Don't also features the flaws of its inspiration. Many of the stereotypical adventure movie tropes are in here. The heroine loses a battle even though she had the upper hand throughout most of it, gloating villains, sudden changes of heart, and many ridiculous plot points. Just watch one of the good old Indiana Jones movies without the nostalgia goggles on. These stories are nuts! Well, what is left for the top of my naughty list? Number 1. Dear Princess Celestia, today I learned that if you obsess over and stalk your idols, you will become their best friends. Best friends. As good as the actual moral of this episode has been, don't belittle yourself in comparison to your idols, this second perverted lesson is also in there. Number 1. fanboyism, or in this case, fanmayerism, I guess. I simply love the mirror Polsky puts in front of our faces. Pre-release acceleration, battle of the greater nerd, being so immersed that you lose grasp on your surroundings. Nerd down, battle of smart assery. Beating yourself, in this case literally even, up over being too nervous to approach your idol. And of course the mother of all lines, perfectly representing the self-absorbed, demanding attitude some fans develop when they forget that there is a person behind whatever they are fans of.
She needs help dealing with whatever everyday nonsense is distracting her from spending her every living, breathing second writing.
There is an actual truth, especially to the last one. I myself have rather relaxed followers. The worst I must face so far is a friendly request when my next Ask video will come out, or calm demands like, do a review of Fiction XY. But I know that especially on the internet, a certain breed of fans, and not only bronies mind you, develop completely lose themselves in their self-righteous, demanding fanatism. It is what Saberspark addressed in his own How to Convention video about treatment of and respect towards your idol. Even though I am not completely innocent of this kind of behavior myself, I can appreciate a tongue-in-the-cheek kind of caricature of crazy fanboys, including myself. My overall verdict, I still really like the episode. This is the AnY saying see you soon.